Hello and welcome to Benz Addiction. Today I finally have a very exciting video for you. Some of you have been waiting for this because it's going to be the comparison between M112, M272, M113, M273 engines. It's going to be an exciting one. Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing in advance. We are going to discuss about 6 main categories. 1. Engine sound. 2. Reliability. 3. Oil and fluid leaks. 4. Power and acceleration. 5. Ease of maintenance. And 6. Fuel consumption. So first of all, I would like to mention I'm going to make this video as objective as possible because these are both my cars. In terms of technology, they are 2 years apart, 2004 and 2006. So let's start. So the M112 engine is the typical V6 engine that started the production from 1998 and it continued to 2005. It's a 3-valve per cylinder and a single overhead cam with 2 per cylinder spark plugs. On the other hand, the M272 started from the year 2004, I believe. It's a 4-valve per cylinder and it's a dual overhead cam with single spark plug. So let's start with the engine sound. This is going to be different from car to car. I believe the CLK has a more sporty type of exhaust, so it's not going to be 100% accurate. But let's check this out. And here is the sound of M113 engine, my CLK convertible. The second criteria is the reliability. The main problem and the significant problem with the M272 engine, especially not the M273, is the balance shaft, gear or sprocket. So balance shaft, sprocket or gear is inside the engine, almost over here. That one for the early years from 2004 to 2008 was a low quality gear. So it wears prematurely, basically around 60 to 80,000 miles. And that might cost you above $4,000 to fix. And it is impossible to take it out without taking the engine off. Also, in terms of reliability, there is other issue with M272 and M273 engine, and it's the rods, the plastic rods for the manifold flaps, and they, after some time, they break. But that's not a very expensive repair, but it still can cost you about $1,000 to fix. The M112 and M113 engines are very reliable. They do not have many issues with the mechanical of the engine. Basically, there are a few oil leaks around the valve cover and the breather, but that's all I can mention for the M112 and M113 engine. Okay, the third criteria is the fluid leaks from M112 and M113 engine. These are notorious to leak from valve cover and as well as the breather. Both engines, the M112 and M113 and even M272 and 3 engine, they tend to leak from the reservoir, the seal from reservoir, but that's all I can mention about these engines. The fix for the valve cover is not very expensive, but getting rid of the oil leak from valve cover and breather is not an easy job and requires more attention. On the other hand, the M272 and M273 engines tend to leak from the oil filter housing and oil cooler. gaskets. There are two gaskets. So basically, as you can see, this is very clean because I have already replaced and fixed the issue. These are also notorious to leak from the seal behind the reservoir. Another leak that is very common for M272 and 3 engines are the camshaft plugs at the end, as well as the oil separator. Here on the back of the engine, there are 3 camshaft caps and the oil separator, as you can see over here. And it is usually the troublemaker for leaking a lot of oil. And as you can see, the back of my engine, the M272 is saturated with oil because of this oil separator issue. Okay, in terms of power and acceleration, I would like to only compare the 320 with 350s. The highest displacement M112 engine is the 320 that makes 215 horses. The acceleration on a CLK is achievable 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. On the other hand, the M272 engine, the highest displacement is 350. It makes 268 horses. The 0 to 60 on a CLK takes about 6.2 seconds, while the M113 in a CLK can achieve this number in 5.2 seconds. The V8 variant of the M272, which is M273 engine, and it's a 5.5 liters, has 382 horses, almost 80 horsepower more than the V8 counterpart of the M113. Can go from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Okay, now let's talk about the ease of maintenance on these two engines. And when I refer to these two engines, I mean M112, M113, M272, M273 engines. The only maintenance issue that I can see for the M112 and M113 engines are the spark plugs. So basically these, they do have twice more as M272 and M273 engines. So that is a bit more expensive and a bit more work to do on these engines. Also, replacing the spark plugs on the M272 and 3 engines are much easier because basically these are on top of the engines over here. While on M113 and M112 engines, they are basically down there and they are a bit more difficult to access, especially the ones that are closer to the firewall. This is almost a one-day job, especially on the V8 M113 engines because of that issue, but on the newer engines, these are like an hour of job for the replacement of all the spark plugs. There is a major advantage for the older engines, M112 and M113 engines. They basically have one single camshaft sensor over here. And that even reduces the leak, the oil leak amount from there. So basically one single sensor in terms of the camshaft. On the other hand, the M272 and M273 engines, they have 4 camshaft sensors and 4 magnets, as you can see over there. So 2 on each bank. That makes it more prone to throw coats, as well as more expensive to replace and more prone to leak as well. One thing I like about my M272 engine, I'm not sure if this is true about all of the M272 and 3 engines. I have a physical dipstick over here for oil, but on my M112 engine, I do not have a dipstick. Okay, in terms of fuel consumption, if you are in the market to buy one of these, I think you should not think about the fuel consumption. The 6 cylinders, both of them, M112 and 272 engines, they both consume in combination 20 miles per gallon, and that's 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers. The V8 variant, the M113 and M273 engines, they consume 17 miles per gallon in combination. So But one thing I cannot take out of the equation is that M272 and M273 engine, they both use a 7-speed, while the older M112 and M113 engine, they use the 5-speed. So that significantly can affect the fuel economy and also the acceleration as well. So guys, there you had it. The comparison between these two engines, they do both have their pros and cons, but you should choose for yourself what you're after. Of course, the more modern ones with dual overhead camshaft, they produce more power, but in terms of reliability, I would say M112 and M113 every single day. But if you are ever after to try the M272 and 3 engines, please make sure you pick one after the 2008 year and not those within the VIN number window of a faulty balance shaft sprocket. Thanks so much again for watching, liking, subscribing. Please make sure to follow the channel. There are lots of new content coming in next few weeks.
Let's go.